with the Kashmiri people. And I think it's very important that when we talk about solidarity with Kashmiris, we must realize that over 7 decades have passed and we are still facing the worst form of oppression, genocide, ethnic cleansing, war crimes. And I think what the world is witnessing right now in Gaza and the entire global world order is totally jeopardized after this Hamas Israel conflict. And the world is, especially the powers that be, they are saying that how can this be possible? I mean, like, this destabilization. So I think all these horrors that we are seeing in the world, because Kashmir and Palestine are the oldest pending conflicts in the world, and it's a tragedy that the UN resolutions have still not been implemented as per the aspirations of the people. And I ask the world that whatever is happening right now in Kashmir and in Palestine, that who is responsible for all this? If all the democratic voices of peace and non-violence are shunned, are killed, are silenced, are hanged, then I think voices of pacifism and uh, peaceful resistance are suffocated, then it is my firm belief that when all those democratic principles are not allowed for these movements, then obviously the way forward for the people is to pick up the gun, to follow the armed struggle, which is their right as well. But since the world at one time promised the Kashmiris back in the early 90s that if they follow the peaceful path of Gandhi and of Jinnah, the political voices of Kashmir will be heard and be respected. But I'm afraid that over 3 decades have passed. Until date, what we are seeing is that our entire leadership, our future generations, all are languishing in jails, in torture cells, in underground torture cells, and facing third-degree tortures. And I myself would like to add that when we talk about human rights violations happening on the soil of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we must not ignore the growing terror network of RSS around the world, globally as well, the transnational terrorism of we have witnessed incidents in America, in Europe, in UK, we've done in Australia, Canada, and even in the Arab world, how people are being targeted, especially all those same voices that are challenging the fascist RSS regime within India. And this is a very old terror network which was involved in the assassination of Gandhi and also the massacre that took place in 1947 in Jammu, where over 5 lakh Muslims were beheaded, slaughtered in Jammu. And it is the same RSS which is in power for the past 10 years in India. And we witnessed how Muslims, how Dalits, how Christians, how people of other faiths are being, and even those Hindus that are following the moderate path and do not believe in the extremism of the fascist Modi regime. So I think it's essential that when we speak about the violence that is going on globally because of the terror networks of RSS, I would not even say the Indian state now, because I think RSS has hijacked the Indian state completely, and we see only remnants of the Congress or the secular Constitution of India, which is not even there now on the paper, practically as well. And we're seeing all the doves, all the peaceniks within India are so bullied, they are so scared that they can't even dare to, challenge the current regime. But when we look at the world, we look at the universal jurisdictions, we look at the Universal Human Rights Charter, we see that the first clause is that every human being has a right to honor, dignity, and freedom. Right here, when I'm standing, addressing this, our family is in mourning right now. I lost my mother on 15th of January. She was a beautiful, energetic, healthy woman, and she was the main source of strength. She was a former politician who fought for the rights of women participation in Senate, got ordinance repealed by General Ziaul Haq at one time, a young fighter with a fighting spirit for, standing up. And when I made this decision of marrying one of the most controversial figures in the world, Muhammad Yasin Malik, during a peace process that took place in 2005 when I was a young teenager. I met him, and that peace process happened when the international world became a guarantor. And you have the Americans sitting here. They were instrumental at one time in the early 90s. If you go back to the records of the State Department, of their diplomatic cables, of their ambassadors that were posted in India, and also those that were covering the State Department in the South Asia region, how they would come and convince the Kashmiri leadership in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir to follow the pacifist path, the peaceful path, instead of the armed struggle, then the world will listen to them. But somehow, after so many decades, when our entire movement is almost 99.999% is still following the democratic, peaceful path of Gandhi or of Jinnah, I fail to understand that all that we receive is body bags, and our voices are silenced, and what we are seeing in the Hamas-Israel conflict, and why have we reached this position? Why is the world, become so intolerant to the peaceful voices? So this is the turning point in the world where I think if peaceful voices of Kashmir struggle are being targeted globally. And just recently, when I lost my mother, because she is a shaheed of this movement, because she was being slow poisoned for the past 3 years, and so were we, our family. My daughter is only 12 years old, and she addressed the Azad Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, the youngest child in the world to address an assembly ever. And her only appeal was that she wanted to meet her dad. She was only 2 years old. I mean, Americans used to call Yasin the Gandhi of Kashmir at one time, and so were the Europeans. And him, along with the other Kashmiri leadership, Shaheed Saeed Ali Galani Saab and others, they endorsed that, okay, fine, if the world is putting confidence in the political voices of Kashmiris, we will honor that. But I am still shocked and traumatized that till date, there is a complete criminal silence. There's I think selective conscience of the world. I think maybe we don't even exist on the planet right now, for the world that be. But I must warn all of you that if my mother was targeted, because our family is a symbol of the peaceful resistance, and being targeted on Pakistani soil, when we do have all the security over here and people are watching us from all over the world, and if India can penetrate to this level, so if our voices, my husband is facing a death sentence and Modi wants to hang him, and God forbid if that happens to him, then I can warn, I'm not warning the world, this is a fact, that every Kashmiri will follow the armed struggle, because he was a symbol of that resistance, because he was the pioneer of the armed struggle, my husband, who started the armed struggle. And when he believed, we honored all those pacts of peaceful resistance. This is the slap on our face that we get, is transnational terrorism of India. And I lost my most beautiful mother, the Iron Lady. She was a lioness in my life and for this entire movement. And all we wanted was that to be heard, the peaceful resistance. And if we are eliminated, then I'm sorry. Our people are ready, even if they don't have weapons, they'll become suicide bombers. So the world should realize that it won't only be Kashmiris who will be there resisting. You will have people from all over the world, because now the global trend is to follow, because there is no international law being implemented. It's like a jungle law. And the new world order will be private armies. People will be picking up weapons and guns and will be trying to impose their own laws in the world, because there's so much of injustice and there's colossal damage taking place. So, what economies will flourish in India? I mean, what regional peace will happen here when this entire region will be bursting? And this is right now, whatever's happening is that silence before that thunder. And I think it's going to burst and explode. And I think if we still have few leaderships, peaceful leaderships alive in jails, including Shabir Shah, including my husband, Yasin Malik, Asian Rabi, and Dr. Faktu, and Musarat Alam. Otherwise, I think that chair is empty. It's going to become completely empty and silent. And then the world will have no political peaceful voice from the Kashmiri stakeholders, who are the principal party. So we look at Statue of Liberty. We look at Martin Luther King, we look at Nelson Mandela, we look at Che Guevara, we look at global freedom fighters, and even within Kashmir, we have so many powerful leaders over there. But it's a tragedy and it is a failure of the world order. And I think if the world fails to acknowledge the struggle of the Kashmiris against the highest occupation of the world, still believing in the principles of democracy, I think a lot is going to change. And then we're stuck between three nuclear countries, India, Pakistan, and China. So, what are we expecting? And I feel sorry for India right now, even for Rahul Gandhi and others, politicians over there, who are still trying to speak up that, we want to. There's this famous dialogue that he addresses in his rallies that नफरत के बाजार में in the market of hatred मैं मोहब्बत की दुकान खोलने आया that in this market of hatred within India I want to establish a shop of love, but he will fail terribly because now RSS has hijacked, and even their own military is being trained by the ideological RSS. So, can the world afford an ideological fascist Indian army? No, absolutely not. It is going to be a risk. Right now, there's a competition between India and China for the West to support India in some way or the other. I think this will be the biggest mistake that they can make because all investments within India sooner or later will collapse because there is a civil war that is about to erupt there because of the treatment that is being dealt against the minorities, people of other faiths, how they're being traumatized. And this transnational terrorism, even America is a victim of that. Over there, how Sikhs have been targeted by the RSS racket. Same way my mother was targeted. We're on that same death ray. I don't know for how long I will survive those poisons. But yes, they have a huge racket. And we feel honored to sacrifice our life. And my mother, the last thing she said, that life is a very small thing to give up on for such greater missions. So let's just not fight. Let's not have goals which are limited. Let's fight for greater missions. And greater missions are of humanity and peace. And I think global world and global economies will only flourish if there is global peace. And the oldest pending issues are Palestine and Kashmir. And yes, we do welcome whatever the world leaders have played a role to release Palestinian prisoners. I hope a day comes that Kashmiri prisoners are also released and they are heard, and the main party is brought to the table. So God bless you all, and a wonderful event, especially the children who performed on the tableau performances on what happens in Kashmir. I think it's high time that we do something productive, not just lip service. I'm ready to sacrifice my life. I'm the first Pakistani public figure in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And I have gone there, I've lived there 5 times. And we live, ladies and gentlemen, in my Suma, which is the Gaza Strip of Kashmir. And I'm afraid that right now it is just everything is silence locked. There are drone cameras, there are monitoring teams, there are occupational forces, there are castles going on, properties are being seized, demographic changes are taking place. And yes, the recent farcical elections that took place there, which were being projected by the Modi regime as, oh wow, all the Kashmiris were out on the road, they were not. And the diplomats who were there during the election process, they were being misused. I feel sorry for those diplomats because Modi was trying to project those diplomats as election observers. I mean, that is a totally different mandate. So that was also a farcical exercise. The only way is to hear the Kashmiri people and to give them the right to freedom that they so deserve, which was promised. And if they don't get it peacefully, they will pick up the arms. Thank you.